Welcome to EngineeringSkills.com, the new home for DegreeTutors.com. So we have a brand new site and we have a brand new name, EngineeringSkills.com. So in this short video, I'm just going to give you a rundown of the new site and highlight some of the key features. And I'll also talk about how you can get access to your courses. If you've previously purchased courses on DegreeTutors.com, you can rest assured all your materials are waiting for you here on EngineeringSkills.com. Once you log in to the new site, you'll find yourself here on the course listings page, which will be very familiar to you if you're a user of DegreeTutors.com previously. So all of the main details are shown here for each course, so you can scroll down until you find something that you're particularly interested in, or if you have a particular topic that you'd like to learn about or something that you have a question on, you can go ahead and search for it by either clicking on the search button here in the menu bar or hitting Command K, which is the shortcut to open up the command palette or the search bar. So if I hit Command K, I can put in whatever I like here. So for example, I might want to learn about how to calculate cable tension, cables being structures that exhibit geometric nonlinearity, so it's a little bit of a tricky problem to solve. So if I go ahead and type in here, just start typing, and we can see that, sure enough, I have a lesson on solving for max cable tension, and that's in the course Nonlinear Finite Element Analysis of 2D Catenary and Cable Structures. So if I click on this, it'll bring me straight to that lesson. So here we are in the relevant lesson. You'll notice that we have the legacy DegreeTutors logo here at the start of the video. The real reason that's there is because I can't bring myself to re-edit 800 or 900 videos now at this point, so we'll live with the DegreeTutors logo. So here we are. All lessons have a HD video lecture. Okay, you know this if you're a DegreeTutors user. You'll also know that I'm endeavoring as time goes on to add more text documentation to each of the lessons, and this is one example of a lesson that has full text documentation. So if I scroll down here, you can see that we have a really nice text lecture that goes with this particular lesson. If we scroll on down, you can see all of the graphs that are produced during the course of this lesson and all of the code snippets that are used. So if you have a question that I have not addressed in the lecture, or you want to further clarify something that we've covered, you can go ahead and use our custom GPT model. We're calling it EngineeringSkillsGPT. So this is a large language model, an AI tutor if you like, that you can ask questions to and get an AI response. Now I will say from the start here, you've got to double check your responses, particularly if you are asking a question where the response or the answer is a quantitative response. You'll really want to double check your numbers. You won't want to ask this to do maths, for example. But I can do something like ask it to tell me the difference between geometric and material nonlinearity, for example. All right, and we get a response back that says geometric nonlinearity refers to the change in stiffness, shape, or deformations of a structure or material due to a large displacement or rotations, and indeed that's correct. On the other hand, material nonlinearity refers to the change in material properties such as stiffness, strength, or strain hardening behavior under mechanical loading, and again that's correct. So it sounds good so far, so let's ask a follow-up question. Let's see if it will give us some examples of structural failures arising from material, or let's just say nonlinear behavior in general. Okay, excellent. So it's giving us some examples of nonlinear failure mechanisms, or failure mechanisms that are arising from nonlinear structural behavior. So you get the idea. You've probably used a ChatGPT or another large language model chatbot before. So now we have it built into engineering skills here. So it'll just be that little bit quicker and easier for you to go back and forth between that AI model. And that can sometimes be just what you need to help clarify something that you're working on. So if we scroll on down through the lesson, we also have these embedded AI explainer boxes. Now I'm in the process of adding these to text lectures, and so they're quite sparsely located around our lectures at the minute, but we're in a process of adding these to lectures as time goes on. So as an example, you can see here, for example, if I wanted to, let me go to one good example. let's see if it will explain to us this code block here. So if I just click on explain this code, so for example, if you're working through the lesson and maybe you're new to Python, maybe you're not that familiar with the syntax, and you just want a further explanation of what is being done in a particular code block. Well, if there is an embedded AI explainer block, you can expand that and you'll get, again, a large language model response for what that code is doing. And so you can read down through that, and sometimes that's all you need to just get that extra little bit of clarification on how something is working. So we have them for code blocks, and we're in the process of, again, adding them to equations as well. So we have this this explainer here that says unpack this equation, which is referring to equation 1 here, and so we can hit that, and again we're going to get an AI response for that just tries to unpack that equation just a little bit. Now, I should have obviously explained this equation to you by the time you get here, but just in case you're still unsure about something in this equation after completing the lecture, you have it there. So those are the different AI features in the platform. The other thing that we have is embedded notebooks. So for every lesson that's a code-based lesson, you can download the resources. So you can download the Jupyter Notebook for that lesson, or you might want to run the notebook online. And again, we're in the process of adding these notebooks to the lessons, to the courses, but they're not all there yet, but we're in the process of adding them in. And so you can go ahead and you can actually execute the code. This is just a regular Jupyter Notebook, so you can go on down here and execute the code in your browser. And so particularly for light notebooks that aren't computationally intensive, this is particularly handy because you don't have to spin up the notebook in your own development environment. You can just basically work your way down through the notebook, executing the code that we write in that lesson. What this is particularly handy for is if you want to, dig in and try and, understand in a little bit more detail how this is working. It's particularly helpful to be able to go in and start playing around with the code and changing things in the code. So for example, if I scroll on up, let me see, I might do something like changing the span to, let's say 10, and let's say y max equal to 2. Come on down and re-execute the cells, and we'll get a different response out at the end. Now, there are some limitations to this. Obviously, when these notebooks and this code is written initially, it's written primarily for someone to run in their own development environment. And so they won't always work in the browser, or rather there will be parts of notebooks that won't always work. And so, for example, if you scroll on down here, you'll see that because this notebook was just taken from what was written during the lecture, you've got a file path that refers to, well, it's actually my computer here. And so we're not able to execute this cell, or rather if we try to execute this cell, we're going to get an error. And that's perfectly expected because we're trying to do something, we're trying to access something on our file system, and we're essentially working in a sandbox environment here in the browser. So we don't have access to locations on your file system, which is proper order really, because we wouldn't want that. So that is how you can run notebooks in the browser. And like I said, if you're dealing with particularly computationally intensive notebooks, certainly some of our courses where we're writing iterative solvers or heavier finite element analysis codes, you'll want to download those anyway. This is kind of for light notebooks that you want to run in the browser. So back on the courses page here, we have 4 icons at the top of each of our course listings, and these are to give you an idea of the type of content that's contained within each course. So every course has a video lecture, and that's the sort of the base level of provision. There's video lectures for every lesson in every course, so you'll see that's indicated here by the lit up video or camera icon. Every lesson on the platform now also has closed captions. If the notes icon is illuminated, it means that there are text notes for every lecture in that course. If it's not illuminated, as is the case here for analytical modeling of plate and shell structures, well then that means that we haven't yet added the text notes, but there's a full video obviously for each lesson in the course. If there is a Python icon, that means that it is a code-based course, a Python-based course. If that icon is lit up, like it is here for multi-degree of freedom dynamics, well then that means that there's embedded notebooks for that particular course. And so you'll see we've got a full set of notebooks for this course, which is our structural dynamics, our multi-degree of freedom structural dynamics course. So that is our courses. We have much the same for our Python projects, our free Python projects, and we have tutorials as well, which you're familiar with here. And so our tutorials, as I showed in a different video, a previous video, our tutorials are much more nicely presented and typeset now. So it's a much nicer reading experience as you're working through tutorials. Okay, so that is the new website. I'm trying to keep this as short and focused as possible. The last thing I want to say is that if you have taken any DegreeTutors course in the past, whether you paid for a membership, a lifetime membership, or an individual course, all you have to do is create an account on Engineering Skills. So I will log out here. So just complete this form here and register your account. Now, the only detail in this entire process of transitioning from DegreeTutors to Engineering Skills that you have to remember is that your new account, your Engineering Skills account, needs to be set up with the same email address that you use for your DegreeTutors account. That's all. Once you've done that, well then we will recognize you on the back end and link you up with your courses, and then once you've logged in with that email address, you'll have access to all your courses. So that's it. That's the new website. I hope you like it. I hope you find it helpful. It's been a lot of work to get to this point, but I think it sets us up well for growth and expansion, more courses, more learning materials, more users for the future. So with all that said, I'll sign off and hopefully see you inside one of my courses in the not too distant future.